a little standing action going on. It's Pat McAfee show. Got a little standing, got rid of the chair, a little more comfortable. So, what do you say? What do you know? We are back previewing college football. College football is back. Best time of year. In my personal opinion, I love college football. I think it's the greatest sport ever. I love college football. Cannot wait to get this started. We got the 12-team playoff. We got super conferences. We are going to get into it. So major storylines this year. We got new conferences, new coaches on the hot seat. The transfer portal is probably the biggest and best it's been since it's become a thing with NIL deals. Teams have taken advantage of it. Ole Miss, Oklahoma State, some teams haven't. Clemson, and you just got teams that, are just completely changing their dynamics of their team. You got Ole Miss, you got SMU, you got teams that people weren't talking about last year, and then this year, you got them. You got people are talking about them. People are saying they're lining up and getting ready to go. So let's get into it. So you have no more Pac-12. You got Washington State and Oregon State are in the Pac-12, but they will not qualify for the playoffs of winning a Major 5 conference. You got the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas. I think that is huge. I think Texas is going to thrive. They're going to get great opportunities this season to play Bama and Michigan and I know Michigan's not in the SEC, but they're going to play in the Big Ten. But Texas has got an opportunity with their schedule to really do some damage. Playing in the SEC is going to be a completely different ballgame than the Big 12. The SEC is built different. They've got defense for one, and they've got coaches on staff that can go be offensive coordinators for Bama and then go on and be head coaches and dominate. And you have just a completely different ballgame. The SEC is a juggernaut. So Texas is getting the opportunity to say, hey, we belong. I'm really looking forward to see what they do. They got great matchups this year. Texas has got big games all year round, especially in the SEC. So I'm really curious to see what Texas can do. The ACC is not going anywhere. The ACC conference has a stranglehold on their participants, and the money that they'd have to pay to get out of that league is an astronomically insane. None of those schools are going to do it. So they had a few add-ons, and the conference has it until 2035, 2036. They got that type of contract. So depending on what goes on, I'm probably thinking they get out of that. Somehow these teams get out of it. That's just too long of a window. I wouldn't be surprised if teams start dropping and paying that money. But Cal, SMU, and Stanford. Now, Cal and Stanford is weird because you got Cal is going to be playing teams like Virginia Tech and Clemson. And I understand that Oregon and UCLA and USC came to the Big Ten. So it's different, but it's going to be really good for these conferences where they're going to have haymakers, no more standings, top two go at it. You can lose one and still get in the playoff. So we got a lot to dissect. Big 12, Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado all joined. I think those were great moves for all four of those schools. Utah can hang with the Big 12. They're offensively sounded. They can hang. They can put up a lot of points. Their defense will be an improvement compared to other Big 12 teams. Arizona, ASU, I think it's a good leap for them, a good change of pace to see what they can kind of compete with in the Big 12. And Colorado, with Prime, they're going to go to a bigger market, get more games. I think it's great for them to get out of the Pac-12. So we finally have a 12-team bracket. So for those who don't know what's going to happen with the 12-team bracket, you're going to have the 4 major conference winners. So you have Big 10, SEC, ACC, Big 12. Those 4 winners get bids and buys, and then the fifth best conference winner. So I have Boise State coming out of the Mountain West. If Boise State's an 11-1 team, a 10-2 team, and they have the best record and they won their conference, they would be the 5th. They would play 12 seed. 11 would play 6. 7 would play 10, and 9 would play 8. Lower seed would host a bowl game, and then the semifinals turn into the bowl games: Cotton, Rose, Goodyear, Orange, and then so on and so forth. So the semifinals are the big bowl games. Quarterfinals are the big bowl games. Semifinals are the Fiesta and something else, and the national championship, so forth. So that's great for schools to host a playoff game. You got Penn State could host Boise State at Happy Valley. That would be great for that school, great for that fan base. Rose, Sugar, Fiesta, and Peach will be the quarterfinals. So those Those big bowl games will be the quarterfinals, neutral site. Cotton and Orange will be the semifinal, and the championship will be the January 20th game to be determined. With all that being said, we got a lot of drama going into this season. So we've got first-year coaches, big shoes to fill. For those who, if you've been living under a rock, Nick Saban is no longer at Alabama. He is retired. He is going to be an ESPN college football analyst, which I think is a perfect role for him. And you've got Jim Harbaugh, who went to San Diego for the Chargers, went out to the NFL, pursue his thing. So he was at Michigan for a year, got him with the high top, and then left, went to the Chargers, as I just said. So we've got some good moves. We've got coaches on the hot seat. So former Washington coach Karan DeBoer, he's his first year at Bama. He did really well at Washington. Offensive minded, just an absolute shootout. Did really well with Washington as his legacy was there. Obviously, he's never going to fill Nick Saban's shoes, but for him to go there and see what the first season gets him and what kind of vibes and energy, I'm not going to really solely base on his performance, because I don't think this Bama team is anywhere compared to the Nick Saban teams. I think a lot of people left, and we'll see what happens. So I'm not expecting high from them, but I do expect them to do pretty well in the SEC. I like a 10-2, a 9-3 team. Still get into the playoffs, not host a home game, but still get in. Great offensive coming back under an offensive-minded coach. So we'll see what he can do. Sharon Bearfield, first season at Michigan under his own mantra. He's got full season. A lot of new faces on the team. Basically, the whole offense left between McCarthy and Corum, but he's got a whole lineup of Donovan Edwards, who can debatably be the best running back. Fantastic year at the RB1. He's fighting for the RB1 spot. That hasn't been announced yet, but he's definitely given a beast for that. Michigan has a tough but intriguing schedule that will answer a lot of questions. I think where they stand we'll know early with their matchups. So they got a week 1 home game against Texas. That game could borderline be the game of the year. I think between them and Oregon and Ohio State, when Ohio State goes to Eugene, that might be the game of the year, but I think those two games are going to be piled off as game of the year type energy. We got some other games in the SEC, but I think Ohio State unbiased and Oregon's going to be a bloodbath. I think it's going to be like a 38-35 game, and you got Texas and Michigan. That game is slated, and it's early. I'm excited for that game to be as early as it is. USC at home. So Michigan has USC come to Ann Arbor. That's going to be a great game as well. I'm looking forward to that. They go on the road to Washington. I think Washington's a whole different team. They're not nearly as high-powered as they once were. Still a tough battle. Washington is cold immediately, so if that's like a week 2 game, it's probably going to be snowing. And Oregon at home on November 2nd. So that juggernaut of a schedule is intriguing, but it's also really going to set the tone. So mid-November, we'll see. Second week of November, we'll see where Michigan stands. Great games. Even the Michigan-Oregon game in Ann Arbor could also be a top 3 game. I'm really excited for what that is. With that being said, with our 2 new coaches and new faces, coaches going out, coaches going in, new places, we do have coaches on the hot seat. I think this year, with the 12-team playoff and what's going to happen in conference play, we got some coaches that are on the hot seat. So starting off, which is dear to my heart and hard to say, I think Ryan Day, it's championship or bust. I don't think he loses his job with not getting a national championship, but if he doesn't beat Michigan this year, I think he's gone. They can lose in the national championship and he'll be okay. But with that roster, I don't see a reason why they can't, even with a loss at Oregon, which is a coin flip game. Penn State on the road. James Franklin really needs to get going. I don't want to see Ohio State fire him, but Ohio State fans are pretty nasty when it comes to where they are. So the roster's insane. Their backfield with Travion Henderson and transfer Quishin Judkins. They have borderline the best running back duo in the nation. Their wide receiver room is always stacked. Their quarterback hasn't been announced yet, Cam Howard. I like where that is. They had the number 1 overall recruit as a wide receiver. He's going to do well. So they have on paper they're there, but Ryan Day, a hot seat, and they got Jack Sawyer and JT Tumaloya coming back. Those 2 guys on the ends are going to make it really hard for opposing players. Matt Rule, Nebraska needs a big year. He was 3-6 last year in conference and 5-6 overall. There's a lot of hype this year because they start off against Colorado, so I'm really excited to see what they do. A bowl game would be huge. Big Ten got a lot better with bringing in USC, Oregon, and UCLA and Washington. They have a huge second game against Colorado in Lincoln. Home game helps them. I'd have to, I need to see what Matt Rule can do offensively. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he wants to do, what he brings to the table. That's going to be a great test for the program early on, see if they can get hit in the mouth and rebound. They go to USC on the road, which is going to be a real tough game. I don't think they survive that. And they have UCLA at home. So a few primetime games, bring some energy back to Nebraska. So see what Matt Rule can do. I think a bowl game keeps him safe, but anything like 2-3 games under 500, I think they go there. James Franklin, I think Penn State is tired of the 10-2s. I think they are needing more like 11-1s. They got to beat Michigan or Ohio State. They can't keep losing to just those two teams and beating everybody else. And the fact that the Big Ten got bigger and better, they're not going to have just those two losses if they can't beat. If they beat who they're supposed to beat and lose who they're supposed to lose, so they're going to have more than 2 losses. They can't seem to get over the big games. They open up against West Virginia. That game is week 1. That game is going to be insane in Morgantown. That's probably the best home opening game for WVU in 25 plus years. It's going to be a great game. West Virginia fans do well. Pat McAfee's show is going to be there. I think that's going to be a great game. Penn State, look out, because West Virginia knows what to do. That could be a real quick game, and that could be a real tough game real quick. And they have a road against USC and Wisconsin, so they got to go to USC and Wisconsin. USC's a travel. USC's tough. That's going to be tough on them. Wisconsin, I think they have Wisconsin's name, but I think Wisconsin's on the up and up, so I wouldn't be surprised that game could go either way. Ohio State comes into Happy Valley, which is always a great game. Ohio State's had their number recently, but back-to-back, actually. They have Ohio State November 2nd, and they have Washington November 9th. So they've got back-to-back great home games, great home matchups against 2 really good teams. So they split that. That's conversation for, okay, what can y'all do? Those 2 games will definitely determine what Penn State we expect. They have a schedule that allows them to get into the playoffs. Another 10-2 year, worst comes to worst, 10-2 year, they're in the playoffs. They're not going to host, they're not going to get a bye, but they get in. But their schedule, as always, gives them an opportunity to, hey, they have a couple tough losses, they lose, but they could still get in. I would see them getting in. I have Penn State getting in my little pre-production playoffs, so I would bet on Penn State getting in out of the 12. I think they're a top 12 team. What do we expect from Colorado? Sanders, QB, he is on market for Heisman. So is Travis Hunter. Not really any big names coming into town, but with that high hope season last year, that was all the drama and everything else, and that kind of passed. We're looking at what to expect from Colorado this year. Is it high-flying offense? I think the drama is going to go away. I don't think they're going to be so hyped anymore because the year one is under their belt in the past, so they're not going to be too much of a big focus. So Nebraska and Colorado State back-to-back. Those are the first 2 weeks, and they've got Utah, and Oklahoma State at home at the end of the year. So again, that their schedule plays out to where they could possibly play into the playoff rank. Could be like a 13-14 outside looking in, get a couple wins, and kind of go from there. So that's really what I'm looking at. I got some teams, hot seats, got some new coaches, got some kind of what I'm thinking, early playoff prediction. I'm not going to give you an all-12 team. I kind of want the couple games under my belt. I mean, nothing's going to be determined in week 2. We have so much big games. So the thing about the 12-team playoff and all these new conferences we have got huge games. So week 1 alone, I'll quickly go through this. I'll try to go as slow as I can. But week 1, we got Clemson. So week 0 starts this Saturday for all you non-college football fanatics. Week 0 starts. We got the Dublin game, and that's pretty much it. So week 1 brings a haymaker. We got Clemson in Georgia at the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. That's a neutral site. Great game. As I spoke earlier, we got Penn State at WVU. We got Miami of Florida at UF. Great game. That's going to be a great home opener for UF. UF fans, get that win. Get under your belt. Start the season rolling. I'll get some faith into you guys. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Great game. Line that up. And LSU at USC is that Sunday Vegas Kickoff Classic. That is going to be a good one. So we got week 2. And this is where it starts to get interesting. You get Texas at Michigan, going to be a great game. Pitt at Cincy, Colorado at Nebraska, NC State versus Tennessee at the Duke Mayo Classic. Gotta love the Duke Mayo Classic. Wonderful dump mayo on those guys. And then you got Boise State at Oregon. That is going to be a surprise playoff team. I think Boise State is the 5th and final conference winner at 12. I think Boise State gets in. Week 3, good old classic rivalry. We got the backyard brawl. I loved watching that growing up. You got Pitt at, I'm scared. You got WVU at Pitt, the backyard brawl. Love that. You got Eat Shit Pitt. You got WVU. You got good mindset. You got Alabama at Wisconsin. Never think those two teams would play. Maybe in a bowl game. Bama at Wisconsin. That's going to be nuts. The jump house is going to be crazy. You got Washington State. The state of the Battle of the Apple, which is normally a Thanksgiving game. It's in week 3. You got Oregon and Oregon State. Same thing. Rivalry game in week 3 is madness. The fact that I'm talking about those in week 3, normally those are week 12 Thanksgiving Day games. So week 4 kind of dies down. You got UCLA at LSU. Nothing crazy, but that's a nice, SEC Big Ten rivalry game. Again, UCLA, that's a pretty good travel. Week 11, FSU at Notre Dame. That is going to be nuts. Depending on how Notre Dame goes, Notre Dame's season is lined up for them to have a pretty good schedule and record going into this game. FSU's got a couple tough matchups, a couple question marks, a couple what if, what that games on their schedule, so we'll kind of see what's going on with there. Louisville at Clemson. Clemson's got games just as well in the ACC where they got games that are lined up on their schedule that normally you'd be like, okay, don't bat an eye. But now with everything being realigned and all the teams in there, it's more involvement in the conference, which is fantastic. Kind of some run off some games, some dates that you need to highlight. I'll try to go as slow as I can, try to talk a little bit, but kind of give you key dates to tune in. By the way, don't do anything October 12th. If any of your friends get married on Saturday, October 12th, tell them you're not going. It could be your sister, it could be your father, it could be your mother. You're not going to the wedding. I know you're saying, how could I be going to my father and my mother's wedding? No weddings. So you got Bama at Tennessee, October 19th. That is going to be great. Penn State at USC, October 12th. Hence why I said October 12th. Don't go anywhere. Michigan at Washington, October 5th. Tennessee at Georgia. Big game since the, that's Bama and Georgia, but Tennessee and Georgia. Ohio State, Penn State, November 2nd. You got Bama at LSU, November 9th. That is going to be insane. Last time they played, it should be a dark game, or a dark game. It should be a night game, excuse me. Not a 3:30 game. Get that figured out. Oklahoma versus Texas for the Red River rivalry. It's a big shootout. I call it a big shootout. I'm not allowed to say shootout anymore. That's what the rivalry is. That's a great game. Ole Miss at LSU, October 12th. Georgia at Ole Miss. Ohio State at Oregon, October 12th. Remember, October 12th. Circle it on your calendars. You're not going anywhere. Oregon at Michigan. Georgia at Bama. Early big game. That's September 28th. That's in the month of September. Georgia at Texas, October 19th. And the game, November 30th. So those are some just normal highlighted games that I'm really looking forward to. And just kind of mark those on your calendar. Replay the video and just mark those down. You can go on ESPN and look at all those games. But we'll be talking about this. We're going to be releasing a lot of content in regards to college football. Surprise playoff teams. Sorry, battery died. Rookie move. Surprise playoff teams. So my surprise playoff team, like Boise State. I think Boise State's going to win the Mountain West and be the 5th. So that's like my surprise 5th and final spot of the top 5 conferences. And then I have a few teams on here that are going to get in, and they're not going to necessarily win their conference, but they're going to get in. So NC State, great resume. They have a transfer quarterback, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, who dominated in the AAC, and he was the Rookie of the Year. He has wide receiver KC Connection, and he was popping off for NC State last year. They also have a transfer running back out of Duke, Jordan Waters, who went off for Duke and did really, really well. Had a great, fantastic year. They play Clemson on the road. The game can really push them into conversation. They beat Clemson, and back here recently, NC State has Clemson's number. They go in there and they always somehow manage doing well and keep Clemson at bay. So if any team in the ACC can go into Clemson's Touch a Rock Stadium, whatever, it's NC State. And I think with the addition of quarterback, wide receiver, running back duo, that offense, I think they have a chance. With 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen returning, don't sleep on the Wolfpack. Tennessee on the road would really set them up for success, but that Tennessee, I think, is a different animal. I think Tennessee beats them. But what Tennessee can do, what can the Wolfpack do with big games will help boost their resume. Oklahoma is a real dark horse. So if you're really looking for someone like a shot in the dark, Oklahoma scheduled with potential playoff teams, depending on how their season goes. They play spoiler in the right conversation. So as the year progresses, if Oklahoma's like 6-4, 7-5, they could play spoiler and play against teams that in the SEC that are just trying to get in, sneak by, that type of thing. They've got the Red River game in Dallas early. They host Bama, and they're on the road for Ole Miss, Mizzou, and LSU. So LSU, Mizzou, and Ole Miss, they got to win 2 out of those 3. I think they could beat Mizzou. LSU, depending on if it's day or night, I know that makes a big deal. Ole Miss, though. Ole Miss at home. Ole Miss is also in my sleeper pick. Sleeper pick not only to get into the playoffs, but win the SEC. So Oklahoma's got a good schedule set up. Their schedule doesn't give them the greatest opportunity, but those matchups really can bring high hopes for that program. And I'm going to go into Ole Miss. Their 6th rank is the highest since 1970, so they've never been this ranked. I think Lane Kiffin has been the best coach in the portal. He has recruited hard and gotten guys where he needs to be. Let me grab my marker, because his blue marker is great when I talk to y'all. Recruitment turnaround. So since 2002, they've had the top 2 ranked transfer portal. So the last 2 years, they've had the number 2 transfer portal. Jackson Dart, Heisman candidate. He's my Heisman underdog. Don't sleep on him. I think he's going to be a finalist. For sure, Jackson Dart's a menace to society. The defense, signing Walter Nolan, in my opinion, the number 1 defensive lineman in the portal. That could be talked about, but he signed that. That's a big, huge. Not many people have them doing well. They have them ranked really low in the SEC. They have them ranked 9th team in the SEC, and then 16th overall, ahead of Kansas, but below Texas A&M. So they have them in the middle of the SEC, kind of lower bottom, and then the 16th team right in the middle. I would put some money on Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss gets into the playoff. I don't think Ole Miss plays for an SEC championship game, but I do believe SEC they get in as like a 6-8. These next 3 teams, so these next 2 teams, Boise and Memphis. Boise State, preseason, they're like the runaway with the Mountain West. They people have them winning the entire the Mountain West easily. Maddox Nason was made the starting quarterback over 5-star recruit from USC. He did not. He got it over that guy. His name evades me. He threw for 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This is his first year, so not horrible. But the Mountain West is pretty laid back. They walk through that schedule. They get into a 5th. They host a home playoff game. Let's see what Boise State can do. They play Oregon on September 7th. Huge leap. I don't think a loss would make a big downgrade for them. It's an out-of-conference game, but wouldn't be bad on the resume to see how they play and how they fare up against Oregon. Is it going to be not an FSU team? Is it going to be a TCU team who gets slapped in the playoffs type kind of energy? But their schedule is a huge favor for them, so kind of see where they go. Memphis finished 10-3 last season. Another poised for another great season with huge matchups. They play FSU on the road, September 14th, early. Same thing. Their schedule is poised to be 11-1, 10-2, just like Boise State. The FSU game, same thing against Boise State playing Oregon. It's not going to be a knife in the back if they lose, but it's going to be a nice kind of comparison, kind of see where they go. Virginia Tech is a dark horse in the ACC, kind of like Ole Miss is in the SEC. I don't think it's going to be as severe. I think Ole Miss is more of a, not dark horse, but not given the credit they deserve. And I think Virginia Tech is hiding in the weeds, per se, because they've lined things up. They've got, they're going to play spoiler. They have a potential top 5 offense. They got redshirt junior Kyron Jones is back alongside with 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. So they got a lot of guys coming back. The top 5 rushing offense, borderline, debatable, discussable, as we say, the Bubcast. Their core offense is back. Their defense is back. They got a solid cornerback who, Dorian Strong, and they have players, and I think Their head coach has got season under his belt, and he's doing his thing. And I think Virginia Tech has poised, and I think they're a rock rolling down a hill, and I think they're poised for a good year. They go to Miami, Florida. Same thing, a Boise State matchup. They lose, it's not horrible, but if Virginia Tech can win some games in the ACC, look out, they may sneak in. Early season talk, early Heisman talk. Same thing with the top 12 playoff bowl game. Not going to really get into it. I don't want to, everyone pretty much says the same 5 playoff Heisman guys, so I'm kind of just going to go some defensive candidates. You got the edge from Penn State, Abdul Carter. He's discussed. Just kind of what I've been throwing around, what I've been thinking, what I've been looking into. Other articles are saying he's kind of the favorites. Travis Hunter from Colorado, obviously. Maliki Moore from Bama. He's a defensive back. Defensive tackle Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. This is just kind of me just going around, looking around, seeing what people think, what kind of stuff we've got. We got James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. He's the edge guy. Harold Perkins Jr., LSU linebacker. Wide receiver, we got Luther Burden from Missouri. I think Missouri, middleman in the SEC, see what they can do. Zachariah Branch from USC. I'm expecting Lincoln Riley with USC to see what's going on. It's tough to see what to expect from them, so we'll see. Travis Hunter, obviously, he's a 50-50 or a back and forth player, offense and defense. Terran McMillan from Arizona. See what Arizona does in their first year. Running backs, Donovan Edwards. I think Michigan's Donovan Edwards is going to be highly not sought out because he hasn't been announced as running back 1 yet, so we'll see. Ollie Gordon III, see what he can do. Good offense there. Omarion Hampton at UNC, see what he can do there. Ashton Jane at Boise State. Nick Singleton at PSU. Those are just some... I did some reading, did some studying. Those are some names I've heard about for a while and kind of just wanted to see what people thought. That's kind of like the names that we got from everybody else. Here are the favorites. And I think out of the 6 I'm listing, 4 of these are going to be in the top 5. So we got Carson Beck, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Monroe, and Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur Sanders doesn't get in. I think Jackson Dart is in there. I think Carson Beck. I think Quinn Ewers is 50-50. I think Dylan Gabriel from Oregon gets in. And Jalen Monroe. So I think those are my 4 to get in. So that was my preseason early discussion topics for the 2024-2025 college football season. Favorite time of year. I'm going to be uploading 2-3 videos a week just about college football alone. This is kind of just a sip of water, a kind of tap on the face to get the season started. Nothing I said is set in stone. I just want to get people refreshed back into the channel. So tune in to all of our videos. If you're not already subscribed to our channel, we are on YouTube, The Bubcast, TheBubcast. Give us a like, give us a subscription. We hit 101 subscribers. That is huge. This is a pipe dream for me. This is kind of just something I've been doing in my room, hence this room. And we have 101. I'm really looking forward to it. NFL is going to be huge. We're going to be pulling off all kinds of videos on NFL, so tune in. This is kind of just like I said, dip your toe in the water for college football. I wanted to refresh everybody, give some people some information to talk about. Leave comments in. I love talking to y'all. So again, I appreciate everything. We're also on YouTube, or I already said that. We're on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. I upload videos all the time. But seriously, appreciate y'all, the Bubcast here. We love doing this. We appreciate everyone at home. So tune in, and college football is going to be great. I can't wait to have it back. You heard?